Hey there, everybody. Welcome to the first ever episode of Kicking It with the KTrain, talking with people who help me keep an eye on my vision. And I have been wanting to launch this podcast, YouTube show, whatever you want to call it, for a while now. And I figured the best first guest to have on the show would be the person that you all can blame for getting me into triathlon and thereby having, helping fuel my obsession with triathlon. And that is my good buddy and mentor, Mike Melton. So, Mike, thanks first and foremost. Thanks so much for coming on. And number two, thanks for well, I'm not sure whether to thank you or curse you for you know, fueling my passion for triathlon.
Oh, you're welcome. Of course, I would do this for you.
Thanks, man. But yeah, so like just to kind of get a little bit of background, can you kind of tell everybody what do you do like for what do you do for a living? Like what is what is kind of your background and you know like just tell us a little bit about your life essentially.
Oh boy. Well, I'm an emergency doctor by trade, and I've been practicing in medicine for almost 20 years. And when I was a when I was a resident, I was pretty overweight and out of shape and living in scrubs. And scrubs are eating pants, so you don't even know if you're gaining weight when you're wearing them. I was like going back and forth doing long call nights, and my next door neighbor, who happened to be a personal trainer at one of the local gyms there, came upon me one day and said, "You're a doctor, right?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he's like, "You shouldn't be a fat doctor. You're an advocate of health," and he was just lecturing me and just gave me the right act. And I just hung my head in shame and said, "Yeah, you're right. I probably need to do something about this." And he offered to train me for free, and I thought that was pretty amazing. And he did that for about a year. Like we hung out, and he helped me get into running, and I started off with running. And the very first race I did was the Philadelphia half marathon. He trained me to do that. And then he went on to be a famous celebrity trainer, Sean T, the Insanity Sean Thompson. I know him as Sean Thompson, but at
Yep.
that time, but yeah, it was pretty cool to have to kind of get started with him. And then yeah, and I kind of once I completed him and we kind of parted our ways. He went off to California to pursue his dreams, and I started working in Florida, and I kind of fell off the wagon again and decided I wanted to get back on it. And I went into triathlon and got into doing triathlon at that time, and joined a little triathlon camp in Melbourne, Florida, and the rest is history. There are 14 Ironmans guiding you, and yeah, now here I am. Yeah.
I actually love this part of your story. What was your you know what was your first triathlon, and then like why well and then like what was your first triathlon? What was that
The
like
experience, like,
why did you like why did you decide to go from just running and just keeping yourself generally fit to doing triathlon, which we all admit is kind of crazy.
yes, yeah, it was kind of crazy. I looked at it as a pathway to fitness and weight loss, because again I had gained weight again, and I thought, oh, this might help me get back in shape. And again, I was working a lot, working a lot, gain weight. And then I remember that I passed out at work, and
Mhm.
and I'd been working so much, and it was just looking back, it was probably more toxic than anything.
Hmm.
But yeah, I passed out, and I was like, oh, I blamed immediately. It was because I let myself go and got out of shape, and they were running a local race, and one of my friends was the medical director at it, and he was telling me about it, and I just kind of he didn't suggest that I do it. I just kind of thought, oh, that's what I should do, and and I was like, that's it. Maybe that's it. Maybe I need to kick up this running a notch. And I picked a local race. It was a sprint triathlon in Melbourne called the Pineapple Man that we did.
Yep.
Yeah, and and I picked it because the swim portion of it was in a river, and it was probably about chest deep as far as the water. So if you were not a good swimmer, you could actually stop and, and take a breather, like you're in the middle of a pool, and I did a lot. So and I saw people walking in the water, just rowing their arms like they were pretending to swim, like because I did the first timers wave, and yeah, that was definitely an adventure to get through that, because I didn't know how to swim. I barely knew how to bike, and by the time I got through with the swim and bike, I was definitely not running anymore. And so it was like a walk shuffle to the finish line. But I was determined to make it better, and that group that I joined was really instrumental in helping with that.
Dude, I mean, that's awesome. So I mean, Pineapple Man is this, this little sprint triathlon. It's, like is it even like a 500-yard swim or something like that? And then like
Yeah, it's
kind of a
it's a weird.
long bike, weird
Yeah,
distances. But like, how did you go from that to like you said 14 Ironmans?
yeah,
Like
yeah.
what was it about? What was it about Ironman that you were like, I'm gonna go from this little sprint triathlon to, you know, making my passion, 140.6 miles? Like what was, how'd you get
Um,
there?
yeah, I mean, I think it was, the thrill of finishing and seeing, like, let's, what's the next level? What's the next level? And maybe that's part of my, internal makeup is,
Mhm.
from education and stuff, that you just kind of think, okay, well, hey, what's the next level? This is one level, this is the next level. And when you're in that group and they all talk about it, you're like, whoa, what's that about, and how is that?
Mhm.
And once you accomplish, one level, you're like, all right, let me go to the next level. And I think it was a progression like that, but it was a very quick progression too, because
Mhm.
I want to say it was within a matter of 2 years of doing that first one to the my very first Ironman. So yeah, I want to say it was probably
And
that yeah.
when was your first Ironman, and what race was that?
It was Ironman Florida in 2009, which seems like a lifetime ago now.
That's that is kind of a lifetime ago. Like, I mean,
Yeah,
honestly, it almost feels like two lifetimes ago, because like, think about it,
yeah.
I was I think I was in my I was just starting my senior year of high school when you did your first Ironman. Like, think about
Oh,
that.
goodness
About that
gracious.
for a
Yeah,
hot second. Yeah.
yeah.
Uh, but yeah, so you did you did Ironman Florida,
Hmm.
and then you kind of like you progressed on to do other races,
I
but not just
did. Yeah,
other
yeah.
races. Can you tell people what your second race was, and just
My
kind of
second
how,
Ironman.
yeah,
Yeah.
your second Ironman, because you went from Florida to something a little harder.
Yeah, St. George, the very first St. George Ironman was my second Ironman. And I don't know what I was thinking. I kind of look back and I go, sometimes ignorance is bliss, because you don't know what you're getting yourself into sometimes, and it was actually a blessing in disguise, because
Yep.
knowing what I know about it, I probably would have never signed up for it
Hmm.
as my second race. But I knew when I did Florida Ironman, I knew that was more advanced, and I had to hire a coach, and so I hired a crazy man as a coach, and he convinced me to sign up for four of them. So including the Ironman Florida before I hadn't even completed Ironman Florida. So I had
Yeah.
four signed up that year, and St. George was my second one, which was just I did it. I did it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had
Snuck
a
in under the time cut.
I did. I stuck it under the time cap, and yeah, and completed that one, and yeah, I felt pretty invincible after that. I mean, even not that day, but that, when I finished,
Yeah.
just like everybody else, I was like, oh, I'll never do this again, or like screw this, and then you're like, okay, next week you're training for another one.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I actually so one of the just in when we talk Ironman, obviously everyone obsesses about Kona. And
Yeah.
you have a very special relationship with Kona. So
Mhm.
can you walk us through what is that relationship, and why you pursued going to Kona so much?
Sure. So Kona, they have a bunch of physicians, nurses, APPs that come out to help support the medical side of Kona, and it was started off by a physician who was like the very first medical director, and as a payback for doing that, they have a hold a lottery for the medical professionals to participate as a racer in Kona each year, and I'd been going out there. Just I would do the conference, and then I would volunteer in the medical tent afterwards. And I think I did it probably like 4 years in a row. And then the very last year, again, I was rough year working in the ER, and I got to a point where I was like, I'm tired of this. I don't want to do this anymore. And I think I had even sold my bike, and I was like, I
Mhm.
don't want to do this. And I was there and I was like, I'm just going to be a spectator. I'm done with Ironman. I'm done with this triathlon stuff. It consumes too much of my life. And right before they were holding the lottery, the same crazy coach that convinced me to sign up for four Ironman was racing at Kona, and came out and said to me, he goes, "You put your name in for that lottery," and I was like, "I don't want to do that." He goes, "You better freaking do it," and I did, and I got it, and I got the slot. And I was like, of course I did.
Of course you did. Of course you
Like,
did.
of course I did. And it was like, and that like sprung me back like a black hole, sucked me back into it.
The black hole of triathlon, the black hole of
Black hole of
Ironman,
Ironman, yeah.
somehow, some way.
Yeah, somehow, some way. And I was like, oh great. So yeah, I wanted, and I was like crying, and I called that coach, and I was like, I can't believe I won. He was, and it was
I
like a
think he
scene
was.
from
I
a
think he was.
movie.
I think he was more excited than you were.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I was gobsmacked. I was just like
Yeah.
I just sat there, and when they called my name, I just sat there like, and I think I was texting someone about dinner at the time they were doing the lottery drawing, and I just like stopped, and I stood there like stunned, and they like had to call me three times, and they were about ready to pick somebody else's name, and I was like, oh no, I'm here.
Oh my gosh.
And yeah, no, yeah, it was crazy. And I just remember the doc who pulled my name out. He looked at me, and he goes, "Yeah, you look like you can do it." And I was like, "Okay." It's like I don't feel like I could do it right now. And
Well, you had a year. You had a year.
I had a year to get ready for it. And working in the ER, where we're short staffed, and
Yep.
oh good gosh, yeah, and yeah, that was tough with like a crazy ER schedule, and trying to get the training in. It was, yeah, that was tough because I kept getting called in, and
Yep.
cover people's shifts, and I want to say it was a really bad flu year, and we just, yeah, we were just overwhelmed, and
Yep.
long hours, and that's where I met you.
And
Not in the ER, not in the
no,
ER,
no,
but
not in the
no,
ER,
but
but
but it was at
actually,
that time. Yeah.
but yep, it does. That's actually a perfect segue into
Yeah.
like what are your memories of how did we meet, dude? Like, like, how,
So
like I think everyone wants to hear your perspective. How did we meet?
I like the Match.com story. I think
That's
that's freaking
that's probably
classic.
the yeah, that is classic.
Yeah. But it, and all kidding aside, it was some version of that. So I was at the one and only New York City triathlon, and I don't know if people remember that one. I think that was 2012, where
Yeah,
New York
yeah.
City did
City
an
Ironman.
Ironman, and it was a shit show from start to finish.
Yep.
For everybody, the race directors, the participants, everybody. And I did it, and at the expo they had a group of people, and they were recruiting guides for blind athletes. And I was like, oh yeah, I would totally do that. And I put my name down. Forgot it. Forgot that I even put my name on their mailing list or any of that. Fully didn't even like register in my brain that I had done that. And I want to say it was 4 years later or 2 years later, 2 or 3 years later.
Yeah, I think it was
That's
2 years later. Yep.
2 years later. Yeah. Yeah, they connected us. And
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah. No, I tell the story that like I went on this website. Funnily enough, that organization and website is now defunct. It went like defunct like right after like we connected. Funnily enough, and like
Interesting.
yeah, I went on and I think there were two people listed in the Orlando area, and I emailed both of those people, and you were the one that responded, and I said, well, beggars can't be choosers. I might as well go meet this guy.
boy, look what you got.
Look what I got sucked into.
Yeah, I
But
had no idea what I was doing either.
no, so and I think that's so like can you kind of explain, like we really had no idea what we
No
were
idea.
doing.
Nope.
So can you like walk people through kind
Yeah.
of our growth and progression, like from, because like I think we met in June of 2014 or something like that. So you were like in the throes of training for Kona.
Yes. Yeah.
Like why did you like why did you decide to I'm training for Kona. I'll also you know jump in and guide this blind dude once, and it actually turned out that we actually wound up running at least running together a few times a week,
Yep.
up until you did Kona. So like what, like why?
So I I don't know, maybe it's my personality, but I just said, I was like, this sounds like it'd be a lot of fun to do. And it would be, I was doing all this stuff by myself, and I was like, I could use a training partner. So yeah, why not? Why not get a running partner? And I'm like, yeah,
Yep.
we can run together. And again, I had no idea. I did, I was just like, oh, what, he's blind. He knows what he's doing. Yeah, sure. And I, like, I guess people can't tell, but I'm not the tallest person. I might be wide, but I'm not the tallest person. And you are. And I remember when I first met you, and met at that park, and I came up, and you were like sitting at the bench, and I was like, oh, okay. And you sat down, and we talked for like a few seconds, and then you stood up, and I was like, oh, good God, what did I get myself into? I was like,
And it's
you're
not
just
it's
like
not
this
like I was
towering figure with like big freaking shoulders, and I was like, oh crap.
but like I was like, it's not like I was in the greatest of shape. I looked like I was in better shape than I really was, but I was not in shape. Like
Yeah.
I was coming off a year of like being unemployed and basically drinking myself into the ground. But but like do you remember do you remember that first run?
I sure do, and I'm sure you do too. So
Oh, I do. I don't. I But why
yeah,
don't let's hear your side of the story.
So yeah, I had no idea, and I was very frank. I said, I have no idea how to do this, and you're like, that's okay, I know what to do. We're going to use this rubber thing as a tether. It was like that we just hold it on each
Yep.
hand. It was like
Yep.
some sort of yeah,
I think it
it
was
was
just
like a
like a piece of
stick,
rope or something, or a stick.
piece
I
of
don't
rope or
know.
something. Yeah, it was really short. I just remember it being really short, and that I had to hold. I Yeah, you're on my left side, and I was like I had to hold
Yep.
my left arm up, and it was like when I run, I need to pump my arms, and I'm like holding this thing up, and we're coming around the corner, and there's a pole there, and I was like, I'm thinking to myself, I wonder if he sees that pole.
I wonder if the totally blind guy sees a pole.
Yeah. Like we're coming and he's like, you're like, go running right into it, bam, right into it you go. And I was like, oh crap, I should have said something. I was like, oops. And
There goes that
you were
training
nice
partner.
about it. Yeah, you're really nice for it. You're like, that's okay. And and it hit you in a not so nice area. And I was like, okay, I guess I better change this up real quick. And I think what we ended up, we did it. We kept going
We
and
did.
did
We
like
did. Yeah.
5 miles or something. I think. Yeah,
I think so. I don't know how I did 5 miles, but yeah, no, we
yeah.
did.
I don't know either. I was, because I just remember afterwards that because my arm was like in that flex position that for
Yep.
the whole time, like, and I didn't move it. That afterwards, I was like, oh, good God, like how we got to figure out something different. That ain't gonna work.
Yep. And
Yeah.
and for some reason, like I think you were the one that was like, "Hey, I'm doing a 10-mile run this weekend. Like, do you want to join
Uh,
me?"
yes.
And so we just kind of started playing around with, you know, our communication and just
Uh,
trying to figure out what the hell we were doing. Um,
yep.
and and I think that is like I think that's kind of the thing is that we like neither of us had any idea what we were doing, but we figured it out. And
Yes.
I think that was something that like especially in I think you honestly I think you took from medicine and your your ER experience too, because like there's a lot of situations in the ER where like you had like no one had any idea and you just kind of you're we
You
got
have
to
to
figure it
MacGyver
out.
it.
And so
Yep.
yep, so we MacGyvered, we MacGyvered shit for months. And like yeah, and then I remember I remember we were like I was working downtown in downtown Orlando, and you lived, in downtown Orlando. So like we would start running together after work, and uh,
Yes. Yeah.
there was this road race coming up, and you were like, "Hey, let's do this 15K road race." And I don't even think I knew how long 15K was at that point. So like, and I know you remember that race. So why don't you tell about our first race experience together?
Yeah, that was our first race, wasn't it?
It was
Uh
Miracle Miles.
yeah, Miracle Miles. And yeah, we got there, and I always have to do my nervous pee before a race, and then I think we'd figured out a tether system, and
Yep.
we're standing at the start, and I don't know why people thought that like yeah, people thought they could just come between us. Like we're really close to each other, but everyone decided that's where they wanted to be, so they kept trying to
Yep.
like push their way between us, and they would like run into the tether, and while we were waiting, like at the
Yep.
start, yeah, the start corral, and I just I couldn't figure it. I would just look around, like, I'm like, are you serious? Like this is like all the space around us, and this is where you decide you want to go. You have to go. And it wasn't just one person; it was like several people that kept trying to
Yep.
do that. Yeah.
Yep.
And even when the race started, that happened too. Like people kept trying to get like between us for some reason. It was just kind of crazy. But in all fairness, we again didn't know what we were doing, so I had nothing to identify that I was guiding and you were blind, and that
Yep.
like I there was nothing like that. And I think I just started. I think I started screaming out like, blind runner, get out of my way. And
Yep.
and probably what was it, maybe like mile 3 or so, the Lake Nona Running Club like surrounded us and made a bubble around us to
Yep.
to get us through like the big breakout, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. Yeah, I remember
Yeah.
like we're like 2 or 3 miles in, and this lady behind us just screams at the top of her lungs like move.
Yeah. and
And
she
people
and
and
she
like
got all of
it's
her
like
friends and they all like
and
surrounded us. Yeah.
yeah, and then she like gets all of her friends, and like we're all running basically the same pace, so like they all
Yeah.
surround us. So like we run the rest of the 15K, and
Yeah.
and it's just it's like it was just so funny. And then a month later you went and did Kona, and I think I was watching both of your dogs at the time.
Yeah.
I think I yes, I was watching both of your dogs, and I'm tracking you on the Ironman app, and and you finish, and then you come back, and you like with bags of Kona coffee and all this crazy swag and merch from the Super Bowl of triathlon, and
Uh-huh.
and for some reason you like it got planted in my head that I could do I could maybe one day could do triathlon, but we before you convinced me to do triathlon, I think we have to kind of um, tell what you did, um, what we did that first week of 2015. You somehow convinced me that doing the Goofy Challenge was a great idea.
I forgot about that. Yeah, that's right. We did the Goofy Challenge. Yeah,
Yep,
the half marathon and full marathon at Disney.
yep, yep. Well, and I think the original plan was like like we were just we wanted to just run the Disney marathon, and
Right.
I think the marathon was already full, but there were still like a few Goofy Challenge slots open. So like I think you just like signed me up. Like,
I
come
did.
do
I
this.
think I did. I just signed you up for it. Yeah. Because it was like it was like a do or die. Like we had to do it or else it was going to sell out kind of thing. And
Yep, yep,
yeah.
yep. But then like once we I mean that marathon was took forever.
It did. Yep.
That was I was a dead man walking. But when I finished that, I was like, if I could, I think it was actually you that said, look, if you can finish Goofy Challenge, you can do an Ironman. So let's like you know why not be open minded and give triathlon a go.
Yeah.
And you then basically took me under your wing and basically became my sensei. So, so like, can you just tell people how bad was I at the beginning of triathlon? Because it was rough, to say the
It was
least.
rough. It was rough, and of course you're an overachiever, so you don't pick the easy ones when it comes to races. When we were like going through trying to figure that out, but I remember well, I remember the first tandem ride. I was telling somebody about that the other day, actually, about like
Yep.
when you got your tandem, your dad brought the tandem over, and I looked at it and I was like, there was like a basket on it, and there was like I was like, oh, that has to come off. And he swapped out the pedals and there's some other things. And I was like, here I am pretty arrogant thinking like, oh yeah, I could do this. I can
Yep.
pilot a tandem, like no problem, get on it. And like the front wheel was like wobbling and I couldn't get control. And we didn't even like do a quarter of a mile and I stopped. I said, I can't do this.
Yep.
And it was you actually were like, no, yeah, you can do it. You can do it. And we did we figured it out, but yeah, that
Yeah.
was a rough go at it at the beginning, trying to trying to pilot the tandem,
Yep.
and then getting you to swim
An
was
adventure.
definitely a challenge, an adventure in its own. Yeah, trying to figure that out, like trying to swim in the lap pool with with a tether, but that didn't work out very well. And
No.
yeah, and eventually you kind of got the knack of it, like that you wouldn't drown, and we could cover some yardage,
Yep.
and I believe it was the St. Anthony's race was your first pick for.
It was. Yep.
Yeah, and that was that again, a rough go at it because we were swimming, and I think I did a one arm swim the entire time because I was trying.
I was yo-yoing off, off of you and just
Yeah,
like all over the place. And oh man, like
yeah,
about a 1,500-meter swim. I think the swim took us almost an hour or something like that.
it did took almost an hour, and yeah, and then it got out, and you were full of energy, and I was like, give me a second before we get on that bike.
I don't know
And then
how I was.
we,
I don't know how I was full of energy. I was.
yeah,
That was a rough swim because that was the year when like people like it was kind of wavy water and
yes,
it was all like people were just mowing over us. That was
yep,
oh
yeah,
that was a scary experience.
yeah. For yeah, was that your first open water swim too? I would think it
Yeah,
was
it
a
was.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
That was and somehow you still ended up first place at the end for your division. It's
First place out of like one or two. I don't know.
no, no. There was definitely some competition, and yeah, I think it was like when we finally hit the run, like yeah, we got our stride, and
Yeah.
yeah, and really kicked butt at the run part of it. But
Yep.
and we, even the bike portion, we're
Oh, the bike was
killing.
great.
Yeah.
We had a fun time on the bike. Uh, but yeah, man. So like, man, we've done. I mean, like
A lot.
from the from that first road race to your first triathlon. Um, like we just kind of started racing a bunch together. What are some of your um what are some of your you know favorite and least favorite memories from the shit we had to have done 20 or 30 races together. Like,
Yeah, we did quite a few. Yeah, I think some of the Disney runs that we did were some of my favorites because they were a lot of fun, and they always do a good job with their
yep,
race. The Some of my least favorite were actually some of the sprints where we were trying to like just push it, and I would have a meltdown at the end of the run on some of those sprints because we were just redlining it so hard, and
yep,
yeah. But I don't know. They were all different adventures. Yeah, all of them were different adventures. But I think the climax of our racing was the Ironman Boulder was
yep,
and it's definitely up there as one of my favorite races. And that was yeah a lot of fun because it was cool to bring you through your first Ironman. And
yep. Yeah,
yeah,
why don't you because I love your perspective on I mean we've talked about that first Ironman for me.
yeah.
I talk about it from my perspective all the time, but um, like like walk people through like what what we went through like in choosing Ironman Boulder to like trying to train for it to kind of some of the like it was a really rough year for both of us
Correct.
leading
Yep.
into Boulder. So can you kind of like
Yeah.
talk people through some of that like
Yes.
of why Boulder was so sweet to us?
Yeah, it was I believe like within weeks after I want to say was it after Kona or was it yeah, it was later than that. But was like within a few weeks, both of us got dumped by our significant others, and we
Yep.
were, in the single pool again.
Yep.
Yeah, and that didn't put us in a very good state of mind. And
No.
you needed a place to live too, on top of that. So not
Good.
only were you dumped, you were on the verge of being homeless,
Yep.
and I was like, well, I guess, I tried to, I remember going around trying to help you find a place, and it
Yep.
was, yeah, it was kind of tough. And I just kind of, in the end, I just said, why don't you just, you come stay here with me until you figure out what you want to do. And
Yeah.
so yeah, you moved in, and then we started, training together. And I can't remember if you picked Boulder before that or after. I think it was after that,
I think it was after
that you
that.
picked.
I
Yeah.
think I'd been living. I think I'd been. I moved in, and then it was like a couple of months, and then we decided to do Boulder. So
Yeah. You picked it. I told you, pick an
yep.
Ironman that you want to do. And I think we'd done a few, like, did St. Anthony's and did a few sprints. Hadn't got to that level of like a half Ironman at that point, but yeah, we did a few of them. And I think you decided that, you were like, yeah, I want to do Boulder. Yeah, Boulder's the one I want to do. And I was like, great. Of course, it's not an easy one.
Of course not. Of course not.
Well, no, in all fairness, no Ironman is easy, but
No. But
yeah.
there's levels.
So
There's levels. So, oh, there we go. So, had a little technical
so
glitch there, but yeah, sorry. So we pick Ironman. We pick Ironman Boulder, and like there's levels of Ironman, and of course, like we uh we don't pick an easy Ironman.
uh no, not at all. Yeah, definitely, definitely a challenging course. And But it was, again, it was a lot of fun. And that whole year was just rough because of my work schedule, your work schedule,
Yep.
and you lost your guide dog like weeks before the race. And
Yep.
yeah, and that was not a that was definitely, one of the worst days in my life I can recall,
Yep.
and I'm sure it was for you too.
Oh yeah.
And
No,
Yeah,
I
that
like
was.
yeah, no, I got off of I got off I my you know Tyrone wasn't acting himself, and I got off of work early, and went back to the house, and it was like, just I wasn't sure what to do. And you like rolled in from a an overnight shift at the ER, and you were like, dude, he looks bad. Get him in the car. We're going to the vet. And like we got there, and like it was literally within minutes that he passed away. And
Yeah.
it was one of those things where, like, I think it hit both of us really, really hard. Um, and then we still had to, we still had to
Train.
try and train, and
Yeah.
all this stuff. And so yeah, no, like I was honestly amazed that we made it to the start line of
Yeah.
Bold after that. But walk us through the race.
So yeah, the race was, I mean, it went pretty smooth. It was your first, so
Yep.
you didn't know what to expect. And of course, yeah,
No.
there was, a lot of nerves. And for me, I can't remember which number it was, but I was just like, oh, it's whatever at this point. I'm kind of like,
Yeah.
okay, um, and uh, and I think I had to talk you off the ledge a few times because of your nerves. And
Yeah.
by that point, like, you were definitely a better swimmer. And we got there early morning, got through the swim, no problem. I thought the swim went actually was one of the best parts of the race. Was
I think it was like the
yeah,
one
yeah, it
area where
was.
I was like, the
Uh,
worst, like, generally the worst part for me is swimming. And, we got through it pretty
yep,
smoothly.
pretty smooth. And then got to the bike. The bike was it's long
Hmm.
and we had some imbalances and efforts on there because some of those steep climbs were rough
Oh
and
yeah.
it ended up being a lot hotter than I thought it would be in
Yeah.
August in Boulder
Oh yeah.
and yeah, it was some hydration issues, but I think the bike ended up being pretty smooth at the end. It was the run that ended up being the memorable part of that race. And
Yep.
yeah, we
Yep.
we got onto the run and started to run, and then we melted down. And it was like doing the Ironman shuffle and little run walks
Yep.
and
And,
I just remember. Yeah, go ahead.
no, I was gonna say, like, and when we say run walks, it was run for 60 seconds,
Seconds.
walk for 15 minutes.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
it was rough.
it was rough, but we probably pushed too hard on the bike because we've been
Yeah.
focusing a lot on the bike and
Yep.
swimming leading up to that, and yeah, and then trying to stay on top of nutrition for the race was fun too because we would go through the aid stations and all the volunteers were giving water and gels and everything and not
But
me.
they were forgetting about you, man. I'm like,
We were totally forgetting
like,
about me, and it's
hey,
like they were
this
through
guy
it, and I
kind
was
of
like,
needs it
damn it.
too. This guy kind of needs it too. I don't finish
Yeah,
without this guy, so can you help
yeah.
him out?
That was kind of interesting that yeah, it was like you'd have like a swarm of volunteers around you. It was like,
Yep.
hey, and then we're just keep on going because I knew that if we stopped that we'd be dead.
Yep.
And and I remember you getting nervous and you were trying to like do the numbers in your head, like, oh, we're not going to make the cutoff, and I was like, shut up, we're going to make the cutoff, we're fine. And just yeah, and it was like several times we're not going to make the cutoff. It's like we're going to make the cutoff, we're fine, we're totally fine, we're fine. And then now and the coach at the very end
Yep.
was came up, and as we're getting closer to the finish line, and he came up behind us and was like literally putting his hand on our backs, pushing us
Pushing
to
us
go
to like,
faster.
yep.
Yes. He's like, you're not going fast enough, and like was like putting his hand on our backs and was like pushing, and then it's like we're going as fast as we can.
Like we're
But
we're going as fast as we can, dude. I
yeah,
can't go any faster.
yeah.
Oh my
Um,
God. But
yeah, but we crossed and had plenty of time left, and
yeah, we did. I think we had about an
yeah,
hour. So about an
hours more an hour. Yeah, more
hour,
an
yeah,
hour.
hour and like 15 minutes or so, like hour and change. So yeah,
Something like
no,
that. Yeah, it was
we had plenty of time. So yeah,
plenty of
go
time.
figure.
And
Doc Melton,
but
Dr. Mikey was right. So
yeah, and but it was for first experience, it's on par, I think,
yeah,
for a first one. And yeah, and it was felt pretty good, pretty sore the next day, and I think you took second place on top of that.
something like
So
that. Something like
yeah,
that. Finished
yeah,
finished a few hours behind
the,
Michael, but yeah, no, it was
yeah,
good. Good. It
it
was
was
fun.
good. It's
Um,
fun race. Yeah.
but yeah, man, like, dude, like that. I mean, that was quite a that was quite a highlight. It's still right up there with my highlights of my career. Like, did you like? I'm actually curious. Did you think I would go on to do what I have done in triathlon and athletics? Did you see this happening?
No, I didn't see that. And I'm so proud of you for doing what you've done. And yeah, it's pretty remarkable. Not, I wouldn't say remarkable. I just think it's it's pretty awesome that you definitely took it to another level. So that's amazing.
But yeah, man, I mean, I appreciate that. And, but I mean, dude, I really could not have done it without you. And I guess, I mean, number one, I'm curious, and I think everyone else is kind of curious. I mean, you know, since Boulder, I mean, you had kind of a rough time.
Yeah.
Um, you know, you got into some financial difficulties. Had to, but then you climbed your way out of that, and
Hmm.
you kind of worked your way. Um, you had a tough time. Finished. I don't think you finished a race for a long time after
Right. Yep.
we did Boulder, but but now, like, kind of tell people what you're doing now, and what's next for you.
So yeah, I had I moved out west for a little bit, and went to this small little like podunk town and Colorado. It was great,
Yep.
great people, great people. It was very cold. That's all I remember is it being very, very, very cold. It was a
Yep.
small town, and I started to right the ship for me, and and all this was stemming off of a bad relationship,
Yep.
and that stayed single for a while, and decided to after my contract ended there, decided to move to Oregon because I thought I would get into running in Oregon.
Yep.
Yeah, it didn't work out so well either, but now I'm back in Florida, and I thought, I really did. I thought at one point I said to myself, I was like, okay, my days of endurance stuff is all over with, and I don't think that I would ever be able to run again. And maybe I'm just too old for it. And I kept saying to myself, I was like, yeah, maybe I need to come to grips that I'm too old for this stuff, and I need to back off and just be like one of the mortals. and and so yeah, the I decided, like, I'm just gonna start by walking every morning since I can't really run anymore. I would try to run. I tried so many times. I would go out and I'd try to run, and I would just like, I would get short of breath. I have pain in my chest thinking that, oh God, geez, there's something wrong with my heart and stuff. And I did it in Colorado. I did it in Oregon. I would go out and try to do these like crazy long distance runs. And I just said, I was like, I can't even do like 2 minutes of running, and I have to stop and walk. And I was like, this is crazy. So I just said, you know what, maybe I just need to walk. So I just started walking on a treadmill,
Yep.
and I did it every day. And it was, at first I was like, I can't believe, I've done freaking 14 Ironman, and here I am, I can only walk on a treadmill.
Yep.
And I would do it every day before work, and made like a total like code switch in my life, I guess, and changed my nutrition, changed my um, like daily habits, because I would get up every morning before work and drink like buckets of coffee,
Yep.
and that was, I would be doing that from like 5 a.m. to like the time like I was getting ready for work, cursing that I had to go into work,
Yep.
and deal with people. And this is all in the middle of COVID,
Yep.
and and you're going in, and you never know what you're going to run into with people with COVID and stuff.
Mhm.
And yeah, I just started walking, and the next thing I know, I'm doing walk runs, and I was like, okay. And then all of a sudden I'm running, and then the runs started to get less challenging, and I'm running faster and faster and faster. And
Yep.
now I'm like probably in one of the best shapes I've ever been in my life.
Pretty impressive, dude. I mean, like,
Yeah.
you moved back to Florida. You're,
Yep.
you're in, it's, I'm proud of you for, sticking with it, and, finding your your path, your passion for running and fitness again. And I think one of the things, one of the things that you really taught me over the years was that, you know, you know, winning medals and, being at the front, it's awesome. It's fun. But if you don't enjoy and, enjoy the sport for the sport, and you enjoy you know, doing it for doing its sake, and, doing it for yourself, then you're not going to last very long. And I've always admired, like you love, the sport of triathlon, you love, health and fitness, it's something that you're so passionate about, and you always want to do it right. And you have this just bulldog determination that, like, you're going to get back to get back to yourself. And then you find out, what, this is where I am, and I can always improve and be better. So I've always admired that about you. And, like, you're just like, I mean, you MacGyver shit one way or another, whether it's, you know, helping me figure out the tether systems that I still use today, or, figuring out that, you gotta walk before you can run. Just like you
Yeah.
find, you always find a way. And I think that's a huge thing that has helped me, with a lot of my recent challenges and stuff in the sports. Like, what would Mike do? He'd just find a way. So, and I think that's so you've definitely helped me. We haven't, I think we've only run once together in the last 6 or 7 years or something like that, but since Boulder. But
Yeah.
but like, you still impact, you still have a huge impact on my life and career, because, number one, you're just a great friend.
Thank you.
Basically like my brother. So
I
basically
feel that way about you too. Yeah.
you're the older brother I never had. So but yeah, bro. Yeah, so I'm pumped to see what you do, whether you do another Ironman again, or whether you just keep running for health and fitness. Like, I'm super stoked that you're in a good place. And one of these, when I that promise, that promise I made you, I will, it still stands. When I
It's good
retire,
because
when I retire from professional racing here in a couple of years, we're gonna we'll go bag another Ironman together. So
yep, for
so
sure.
we're
Yeah.
we're gonna do it, bro.
Yeah, and I got to stay in shape for that because you've definitely set the bar higher.
It's all about enjoying it, man. It's all about enjoying
True.
it.
Yep. Yeah, because if you don't enjoy it, and that was one of those things that I kind of, I got to the point where it's like, yeah, you need to, if you go out and you're miserable or you feel guilty about missing workouts and stuff, then it's not enjoyable.
Yep.
And I think I was a wise person that said that comparison is the thief of joy. And
Yep.
so if you keep trying to compare yourself to others and compare yourself to someone else and not yourself, it's going to steal all the joy out of what makes this fun. And
Yep. Awesome, man. I can't think of a better way to end the first ever episode of Kicking It with the KTrain. So you guys, go. Honestly, you also have to just follow Mike on Instagram. What's because he posts some funny shit. Like, it's at Sick Bay Commando. Is that your
Sick
still
Bay
your
Commando. Yeah, that's my Instagram. Yeah.
yeah? So Sick Bay Commando. If you love funny memes, if you love triathlon, if you love uh Star Trek,
Medicine,
Star Wars,
Star Trek. Yeah.
medicine, any of that, go give Mike a follow. He is awesome. It's a blast. And but yeah, no, Mike, thanks so much, bro. Really appreciate you taking time. I know you hate doing media interviews, but
Yeah, not a fan of it,
but,
but my pleasure. For you, yes, I would do it. Yeah.
I appreciate it, buddy. Well, thanks everyone for tuning in to Kicking It with the KTrain. I think you can tell that Dr. Mike Melton has definitely helped me keep an eye on my vision, and I think he had a few kernels of wisdom in there that will help you all keep an eye on your vision. So, until next time, take care, everybody.